Welcome back, children of grade 8, for our today's English class. Today, in this session, we are going to see chapter 8 poem from our textbook Honeydew. The title of the poem, On the Grasshopper and Cricket, written by John Keats. Children, before I begin with the explanation of the poem, let me tell you about the poet John Keats. John Keats, he was a British poet and he was born on October 31st in 1795 and he died on February 23rd in 1821. Children, after his parents were died, he went to work with a surgeon. He already has his interest in literary writings and he had struggled between his medical career and writing ambitions. But soon he became a poet instead of a surgeon. Children, he was a great admirer of nature. He wrote most of his poems appreciating the beauty of nature, including the one which we are going to see today. And he wrote most of his poems between the year 1814 to 1819. And his works were not recognized during his lifetime. Children, he didn't receive the poem very well, but his fame grew after he died and became a main poet of the 19th century. Children, not only this, but he also challenged poetical forms. He didn't follow the poetical forms that were already in existence. He created his own literary configuration. He wrote his poems in his own style. Children, here some of the Keats' famous works includes Ode to a Nightingale, Sleep and Poetry, On First Looking into Chapman's Homer, On the Grasshopper and Cricket, and so on. Children, let us begin with the introduction of the poem. This poem, On the Grasshopper and the Cricket, was composed by John Keats, written in the year 1816, and it was published for the first time in the year 1817 in Keats' book called Poems. This remains one of the Keats' most loved poems. Almost every part is inspired by nature. Children, he was a keen observer of the surroundings, and even the smallest of insects didn't escape from his attention and admiration. And this poem is an example for this. Children, he was written this poem on insects only, the grasshopper and the cricket. Children, this poem is a lyrical rhythmic poem. It is not just made of words, but it feels like a song when you read. As the title says, On the Grasshopper and Cricket has the rhythm produced by the grasshopper and the cricket in various seasons. Children, we come to know about it when I'll explain the poem. The poem has rhythm as support, talks about the music of earth, songs of nature, and the poem is rhythmic as it is talks about the song is that the creature of the nature like grasshopper and cricket sings in this poem. The next thing, this is the poem that has 14 lines. This qualifies a sonnet. A poem that has 14 lines consider as a sonnet, children. A sonnet is further divided as octet or octave and sestet. Now, children, what is an octave? Octave is a group or a stanza of 8 lines. So, the first stanza is the first lines, that is the first 8 line is an octave, and a sestet is the name given to the second stanza of a sonnet consisting of 6 lines. So, the last 6 lines of this poem is a sestet, children. An octave is always succeeded by the sestet. So, children, this poem is also a symbolic poem. The poet has introduced 2 little creatures, the grasshopper and cricket, which symbolize the constant and joyous mode of nature irrespective of the seasons. Children, here in this poem, grasshopper is a symbol of summer and cricket is a symbol of very cold winter. Children, the poem on the grasshopper and cricket explores how the beauty of nature persists and never relinquish. Relinquish means voluntarily cease or to keep explain. And also the poet explains the progression of the time through natural indicators, particularly the grasshopper frolicking. Frolicking means play or moved about in a cheerful and a lively way in summer. Frolicking in summer, and the cricket chirping near the stove in winters. So children, the poet says that the nature never ends. Children, let us see the theme of the poem, the sonnet. Here, nature is the major theme in this sonnet. Children, as I told you, John Keats was a great admirer of nature. It is not difficult to trace the influence that the natural world has on Keats. In course of 14 lines of the sonnet, Keats alludes to birds, sun, trees, hedges, meadows, frosts, and grassy hills are all of these are the part of nature. The poet in this poem talked about a cycle of 2 seasons, that is summer and winter, and 2 insects, that is grasshopper and cricket. The poet in this poem finds the nature beautiful, not excluding the hot summer and cold winter. So, here he finds beauty in all the extreme harsh conditions of different season, that is in hot summer and cold winter. Children, that's all from the definitions of the author John Keats about the poem, about the theme of the poem. Children, as a motivation, let's watch a video about the poem on the grasshopper and cricket. On the Grasshopper and the Cricket by John Keats. The poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun and hide in cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new mown mead. That is, grasshoppers, he takes the lead. In summer luxury he has never done, with his delights for when tired out with fun. He rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening when the frost has wrought a silence from the stove their shrills. Cricket's song in warm increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. Children, that's all from the video. Let's move on to the poem from the text. Children, let's start reading the poem on the grasshopper and cricket. Before getting into the poetry lines, let's see the warm up. Unlike the ant and the cricket, that was our previous poem from page number 21, which tells a story. This is a nature poem. In it, the grasshopper and the cricket do not appear as characters in a story. Rather, they act as symbols. So, in this poem, children, it is a nature poem. It was about the grasshopper and cricket, but here they are not appeared as a character. Rather, they are used as a symbols, each suggesting something else. Read the poem and notice how the poetry of earth keeps on through summer and winter in a never-ending song. Who sings the song? So, who is singing the song? Let's read on and see in this poem. Children, let's see the first stanza. I already explained you that the first 8 lines of this poem of the sonnet is considered as an octave. So, look at the lines, children. In the first stanza, we have 8 lines. So, the 8 lines is considered as, is that octave, or it can be called as octet. Okay. So, this first 8 lines is known as octave or octet. Okay, children. Let's read the first 4 lines of this poem. The poetry of the earth is never dead. The poetry of earth is never dead when all the birds are faint with the hot sun. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun. And hide in cooling trees. And hide in cooling trees, a voice will run. A voice will run. And hide in cooling trees, a voice will run. From hedge to hedge, from hedge to hedge, about the new mown mead. From hedge to hedge, about the new mown mead. So that's all from the first 4 lines, children. Let's see the explanation first. Then we'll read the remaining 4 lines from the first stanza. Children, let's read the first 4 lines again on the grasshopper and cricket. It's a sonnet. The first 4 lines. The poetry of earth is never dead when all the birds are faint with the hot sun, and high in cooling trees a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new mown mead. Let's see the meaning and explanation of this first 4 lines now. Children, let's see the word meanings first. Look at the first word and the meaning. Poetry of earth. Poetry of earth. The meaning of this word is the songs of nature. Poetry of earth means the songs of nature. The second one, faint. Faint means feeling of weakness and dizzy. Feeling of weakness, that is feeling weak and dizzy. Then third word, hedge. Hedge means a fence or boundary formed by closely growing bushes or shrubs. It's a fence. A fence or boundary formed by closely growing bushes or shrubs. That is known as hedge. And the next word, new mown mead, means is a phrase used to depict freshly cut grass or hay. It is a phrase used to depict freshly cut grass or hay. Children, let's see the explanation of the first four lines now. The sonnet opens with the poet asserting that the poetry of earth, the voice of nature, is always live. Even when all the singing birds are tired in the hot summer and take shelter under the shady branches of trees, the nature's song can still be heard. A voice can still be heard which runs then from hedge to hedge, means from fences to fences. From hedge to hedge means from fences to fences, and around the freshly cut grasslands, that is mead. Okay, children. So I'll repeat the explanation of the first four lines. The sonnet opens with the poet asserting that the poetry of earth, the voice of nature, is always live. Even when all the singing birds are tired in the hot summer and take shelter under the shady branches of trees, the nature's song can still be heard. So there is no end for the nature. A voice can still be heard which runs then from hedges to hedges, from fence to fence, and around the freshly cut grassland, that is mead. So that's all from the explanation of the first four lines, children. Let's move on and read the next four lines from the textbook. Children, that's all from the first four lines. Let's see the next four lines here. That is the grasshoppers. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. I'll repeat. That is the grasshoppers. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done in summer with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. So children, that's all from the next four lines. Now we have completed the first stanza, that is 8 line, that is known as an octave or octet. Let's see the word meaning and explanation of this last 4 lines now. Children, let's read this line one more time. That is the grasshoppers. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. So that's all from the lines. Let's see the word meanings of this 4 lines now. Children, look at the word meanings here. Luxury. Luxury means, look at the meaning, a condition of great ease and comfort. Luxury means a condition of great ease and comfort. Look at the next word, summer luxury. Summer luxury means extremely comfortable living and surrounding in summer. Extremely comfortable living and surrounding in summer. Look at the next word, delight. Delight means great pleasure. Delight means great pleasure. Then the next word, ease. Ease means absence of difficulty. Ease means absence of difficulty. Then the next and last word, it's weed. Weed means, so here look at the meaning. It's a wild plant growing where it is not wanted. Where it is not wanted. So If the plant is growing in an unwanted area, simply like farms, garden, so that is known as weed. It's a wild plant growing wherever is not needed and necessary. So that is known as weed. So in this four lines, we have seen luxury, summer luxury, delight, ease, and weed. So these are the word meanings we have in this four lines, children. Let's see the explanation lines of the first stanza now. Children, look at the explanation here. In this four lines, the poet praises the continuous beauty of nature by taking into account the song of a particular insect, that is the grasshopper. The poet uses grasshopper as a symbol of hot summer. I have already told you this. So the poet uses the grasshopper as a symbol of hot summer. A voice which runs from hedge to hedge, that is from fence to fence, around the freshly cut grassland that is made in the grasshoppers is the grasshoppers. So the poet can hear the voice of the grasshopper in all through the fences, fence to fence he can hear it, and the grasshopper has the luxury of taking over the duty of carrying on with the everlasting song of the earth in summer. So here grasshopper is taking the duty of carrying the sound, the music of the earth in the summertime, as he is never done with his delights. In summer, the grasshopper seems to be excitedly hopping around tirelessly. So, in summer, the grasshopper seems to be excitedly and hopping around the area tirelessly. Without tired, it's just making the musical sound and it's just hopping everywhere in the summer. The grasshopper is fun loving and cheerful in summer. He takes rest under the pleasant weeds only when he was tired out with fun. So when he became tired, he used to take a rest under the pleasant weeds. So this was the explanation, children. I'll repeat one more time for you. The poet praises, so in these four lines, the poet praises the continuous beauty of nature by taking into the account of song of a particular insect, that is grasshopper. Here the poet uses grasshopper as a symbol of hot summer. So in summer, he is just telling about the grasshopper. So grasshopper is a symbol of hot summer. A voice which runs from hedge to hedge around the freshly cut grassland that is me is one and only are grasshoppers. The grasshopper has the luxury of taking over the duty of carry on with the everlasting music that it was made of the earth of summer, songs of earth in summer. As he is never done with his delights, in summer the grasshopper seems to be excitedly hopping around tirelessly. The grasshopper is fun-loving and cheerful in summer. He takes rest under the pleasant weeds only when he was tired out with fun. So that's all from the explanation of the last four lines of the first stanza, children. So together we have completed the first stanza, that is 8 lines, that is known as octave or octet. Let's move on to the second stanza, that is with 6 lines, that is known as sestet. Children, let's see the second stanza, that is sestet. Here in this stanza we have 6 lines. So in the sonnet, the first 8 lines is known as octave, that we have completed, and the second stanza with 6 lines, that is known as sestet. So that is the definition of sonnet. Okay, children. So look at the second stanza here. I'll read it. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stone there shrill the cricket's song in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. I'll repeat the stanza again. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stone there shrill the cricket's song in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. So that's all from the reading of the second stanza, children. Let's see the word meaning and explanation of this last stanza from the poem On the Grasshopper and Cricket by John Keats. Children, let's read the 6 lines, that is the second stanza from our poem On the Grasshopper and Cricket. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stove there shrills the cricket's song in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. So that's all. Let's move on to the word meaning of this stanza, children. Children, look at the word meaning of this stanza. The first word is for you is that cease. C-A-S-E, cease means come or bring to an end. Cease means come or bring to an end. So that is the conclusion. That means the end of conclusion. Cease. Come or bring to an end. Look at the next word, lone. Lone means having no companion, solitary or single. So alone, we used to say alone, no? The same thing is lone. Lonely means having no companion. Companion means friends. Having no companion, solitary. Solitary means the same meaning, lonely, single. The next word, this is the meaning for the word lone. Look at the next word, frost. Frost means a deposit of small white ice crystals formed on the ground or other surface when the temperature falls below freezing. So we know icy crystals, that is snow. So that is known as frost. Frost means a deposit of small white ice crystals, icy crystals formed on the ground or other surface when the temperature falls below freezing. Okay, children, let's see the next word, wrought. Wrought means brought into being. Brought into being is known as wrought. So, cease, lone, frost, wrought, and some more words are there. Let's see that. Next word, look at the next word, stove. Stove, an apparatus for cooking or heating that operates by burning fuel or using electricity is known as stove. Then the next word, shrill. Shrill means a high-pitched voice or sound, shouting, huge noise or voice, that is known as shrill, a high pitched voice or sound. Look at the next word, drowsiness. Drowsiness, which means sleepiness, feeling sleepy. Okay, so drowsiness means sleepiness. So that's all from the word meanings of this last stanza, that is 6 lines from our sestet in this sonnet on the grasshopper and cricket. Let's move on to the explanation of the last stanza now. Children, let's see the explanation of the last stanza, the second stanza of the sestet. Explanation of the sestet, that is the last stanza from the sonnet on the grasshopper and cricket. So children, look at here. In the sestet key depths the cricket and the poet of winter. So here the author portrays cricket as the poet of winter. He assures that the poetry of earth does not ever cease, for the poets of nature are assigned to keep it alive during the different season. So here the author is telling that the poetry of earth does not ever cease, does not ever stop. The music of the earth and the poetry of the earth, it does not ever stop, for the poets of nature are assigned to keep alive during the different season. In all different, in even the harsh conditions of different season, still the poet of nature and the music of nature, still it is alive. Winter arrives with its icy touch, imposing a death-like silence on surroundings of nature, is now bleak and desolate with the curtain of frost. So winter here arrives with the icy frost everywhere, but still with the silence around the nature, but still the strong song of music and the music of the earth is still alive and going on. The snow lies like on the ground, and all creatures seek the shelter of their own homes. To make themselves warm, all the creatures, they just seek to their shelter homes, and it was because of the snow everywhere, frost everywhere. Even then, the tireless brood of winter keeps the music of earth alive, breaking the painful silence of a long, cheerless winter evening comes the cricket shrill notes from the somewhere near the stove. So wherever it is, even though the cricket was inside the house, inside the warm area, but it never stops to produce its shrill sound, and it makes a beautiful music everywhere. His joyous song permeates the surroundings, being louder every moment as the radiating heat from the stove warms the room. So how the warm area, that is stove, it makes the area warm. Likewise, his joyous song permeates, engulfed. Permeates means engulfed the surroundings, being louder every moment. It was just increasing louder and louder as the radiating heat. So how it is compared? The sound of the cricket, it's just increasing every moment like a radiating heat from the stove warms the room. So in contrast to the dull, lifeless weather, the happy chirping of the cricket sounds, thrilling, infusing new energy into one's soul. So even though it is very dull and lifeless weather outside, but the happy chirping of cricket sounds makes everyone thrilling and infusing new energy into one's soul. So that is the explanation of the sestet. I'll read it again one more time. In the sestet, Keats depicts the cricket, the poet of winter. Here, he's just the poet portraying the cricket as the poet of winter. He assures that the poetry of earth does not ever cease, for the poets of nature are assigned to keep it alive during the different seasons. Winter arrives with its icy touch, imposing a death like silence on surroundings, for nature is now bleak and delayed with the curtain of frost. With a curtain of frost. The snow lies like a mantle on the ground, and all creatures seeks the shelter of their own homes. Even then, the tireless tread of winter keeps the music of earth alive, breaking the painful silence of a long, cheerless winter evening comes to cricket's shrill notes from somewhere near the stove. His joyous song permeates the surroundings, becoming louder every moment as the radiating heat from the stove warms the room. In contrast to the dull, lifeless weather, the happy chirping of the cricket sounds thrilling, infusing new energy into one's soul. It reminds one that life exists and the silvery snow will soon melt once more to make way for the spring. Children, in the last two lines of the second stanza, the poet describes the image of a man who is half asleep beside the stove, held by the warmth of the fire and monotonous drone of the cricket. He is about to doze off into slumber. Doze off means sleep. In this semi conscious state, he hears the cricket high pitched notes drifting about in the air and mistakes it for the merry notes of the grasshopper singing gleefully among the hills on the warm midsummer day in the grassy hills. So that's all from the explanation of the second stanza, children. And we have completed two stanzas, both the two stanzas from the poem on the grasshopper and the cricket. Let's move on to the literary devices of the poem now. To the last part of the poem, that is analysis of poem and the literary devices now. So first one is diction. What is meant by diction? It means choice and use of words and phrases in speech or writing. Here the John Keats made use of a simple diction which is easy to understand. So that's why the diction, that is the meaning, it is very easy to understand. Simple. The poem is very simple and easy to understand. So that is known as diction. Let's move on to the next part, that is rhyming scheme. Children, I have told you that the poem is a sonnet having 14 lines in it. In a sonnet, the first stanza of 8 lines is considered as an octave or octet, which tends to have a most common rhyming scheme, that is AB, BA. Okay, children, in the first line of the poem, we have the poetry of earth is never dead. Poetry here, the figure of speech, personification. What is meant by personification? Personification is an attribution of personal nature and human characteristics to something, to non-human things. Personification is a figure of speech in which an idea or animal is given to human attribute. So non-living things or animals or portraits in such a way like a human. Okay children, so here personification is used. That means the poetry cannot be dead in the sense that humans die. So poetry cannot die, but in the sense that humans die. So here personification used with poetry and human being. Okay children, so that's all from the first 4 lines and its poetical device. Let's move on to the next 4 lines and its poetical device now. Children, in the next 4 lines, the poetic device imagery used. So see here, lead, done, fun, weed. So here the imagery is clear in line 8. He rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. Here imagery means that is a figure of speech to use a figurative object to represent objects, actions and ideas. So here the poet indicates a visual imagery here in the way that the grasshopper takes rest under the pleasant weeds. So here the author is showing a visual imaginary thing about the grasshopper and how it is taking rest under the pleasant weeds. So that's all from the poetic device for the second 4 lines in the first 8 lines of the octave. Children, as we saw the rhyming scheme of the first stanza, that is 8 lines, that is known as octave. The rhyming scheme is A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And now let's see the rhyming scheme of the sestet, that is C, D, E, C, D, E. Okay children, so that is the rhyming scheme of this sonnet on the grasshopper and cricket. So as it is a sonnet, we have 2 stanzas. One is it with 8 lines, that is known as octave, and the next stanza is it with 6 lines, that is known as sestet. So the scheme of octave is A, B, B, A, B, B, A, and the rhyming scheme of sestet is C, D, E, C, D, E. Now let's see the theme of the poem. The theme of the poem on the grasshopper and cricket is the eternal poetry of nature. Keats describes that nature's song is continued throughout all seasons using its medium, that is grasshopper and cricket. So he used these 2 insects as a symbol of medium to portray his own beauty of nature. So that's the theme of the poem, children. Let's see the figure of speech in the last stanza in the sestet now. Then look at the first one, that is symbol. As I told you, throughout the poem from the first line to the last line, the poet John Keats used the insect grasshopper symbolizes hot summer and the cricket symbolizes the cold winter. So here he symbolize the season, he used these creatures, grasshopper and the cricket. So that's all from the first one, symbol. Then the next one is metaphor. So the cricket, see the line, it is from the 4th line or from the sestet. The cricket's song in warmth increasing ever. So here the figure of speech, metaphor, is used. What is meant by metaphor? It makes a comparison that the 2 things that are all irrelevant, not relevant with each other. So contradict comparison. But they share some common characters, that is known as metaphor. So here cricket is compared to the warmthness. So it is totally contradict to each other. So it is compared. So that is known as metaphor. Then the next one is imagery, as I told you already. This line was the last line of the state. The grasshoppers among some grassy hills. So here the author visualizing the grasshopper and the grassy hills in front of the reader. So visual imagery, and he is just showing the vision of the grasshopper among the grassy hills in front of the reader's eyes. So that is known as imagery. Imagery means visual image of the object is known as imagery. So that's all from the poetic device of this poem on the grasshopper and cricket by John Keats. So children, that's all from the poem. Read the poem from the textbook and write the question answers in the classwork neatly without any mistake.